Vice is very concerned about the Boogaloo Boys. You see, the Boogaloo Boys are bringing their AR-15s and Civil War ideology to the lockdown protests. Oh my. Vice writes the far-right Boogaloo meme, which refers to an impending civil war or violent anti-government rebellion, is now spilling out into the real world. Boogaloo meme is not far-right. Please, what is wrong with these people? Journalism in this country is in the gutter. Boogaloo's just a meme. It doesn't have anything to do with the right or the left. It's just a meme. It's a joke. Civil War II, American Boogaloo. It's from the 80s movie. Yes, conservatives say it. Yes, people on Twitter say it. Yes, some people are far right. But these dudes they're referring to come off as pretty anti-fascist. They're calling people Nazis. It's like, dude, you know what, man? Y'all have no idea what you're talking about. But let's read the Vice article on the Boogaloo Boys anyway, because it's fun. The younger S-posting face of the armed far right, often called Boogaloo Boys, have been showing up at anti-lockdown protests across the U.S. toting their AR-style rifles and wearing their trademark Hawaiian shirts and leis. It's a troubling sign that the far-right Boogaloo meme, used to refer to or even incite an impending civil war, or violent anti-government rebellion, is now spilling out into the real world. It's a small handful of people. They're just so desperate to scrape the barrel, man. What do they say? On Monday, a group of heavily armed men, including at least one with links to the Boogaloo movement, oh, it's a movement now, were arrested following a tense standoff with SWAT outside Big Daddy Zane's bar in West Odessa, Texas. The men claimed they were protecting the bar, whose owner was defying Texas's lockdown orders by remaining open. Texas Governor Greg Abbott loosened some of the restrictions on businesses in recent weeks, but bars remain shuttered. Here's the question I have for Vice. If you're such an anti-authoritarian, why aren't you writing a story saying Texas sent Bearcat SWAT APCs or whatever to a bar because some lady wanted to serve drinks? Isn't that a more alarming story to you? The government is using special weapons and tactics to go after some lady serving alcohol? Apparently not. Here's the video. Local authorities called in the Ector County Sheriff's SWAT team to raid a peaceful protest at Big Daddy Zane's. The bar opened this afternoon, and this is how the government reacted. And the dudes who showed up with weapons immediately put their hands up and were arrested. That was it. There was no rebellion. It was a protest. A total of 8. So there's a question here, which is really interesting because of all places on Reddit, they were bringing up questions around what this means and who's right or who's wrong. And a lot of these, Reddit lefties were saying, listen, if you're legally allowed to open carry and you're legally allowed to stand outside and gather, what laws did they break? Now, according to the police, it was that they had weapons on a licensed property. But according to, my understanding and what people have said to me, so this could be wrong, you have to be in the premises. So in Texas, you can't have a firearm in a bar, like if they're serving alcohol, something like that. These guys were outside. So what law did they break? And why was a SWAT team necessary? You could have just taken one regular old guy and welcome, come on, guys, time to go. We're coming in. And the guys put their hands up and they left. A total of 8 people were arrested. 7 armed vigilantes. Armed vigilantes. I love it, Vice. Bravo. Because what did they do to make themselves vigilantes? Like, were they stopping the bar? Because if they were trying to uphold the law, right? And the bar owner, a Facebook page for Wyatt Wynn, one of the arrestees, shows that he follows about 24 pages dedicated to Boogaloo. Recently uploaded photos show Wynn posing with a group of armed men in Hawaiian shirts. Other memes he shared reference Duncan Lemp, a 21-year-old student with anti-government views who has been martyrized by the armed far right after he was killed by cops in Maryland during a nighttime no-knock raid in March. Police said they were executing a high-risk search warrant following a tip that Lemp was in illegal possession of firearms. And apparently, in that raid, they fired their weapons through a window, striking his girlfriend. Come on. You want to talk about what's going on? You should probably provide the details. Now, here's what I love in this image. It's kind of like a Gadsden flag thing. It's a snake coming out of a bunker, and it says, clickety-clack, get the F back. And then this guy Wyatt said, they are descendants of Nazis pissing on the Bill of Rights daily. His name was Duncan Lemp. Oof. So this was Antifa, right? Well, I mean, look, Vice, you're the one who told me that to be anti-fascist, you need only oppose fascism. Well, this guy's insulting Nazis. So you're saying he's Antifa. All right, let me fix the headline for you. You said, what did you say this was? The Boogaloo Boys are bringing their AR-15s. Okay, I'll put Antifa brought their AR-15s and Civil War ideology. Now that doesn't make sense, does it? Perhaps it's because the definition of Antifa is wrong and they're lying to you. These guys oppose authoritarianism and fascism. That's it. Boogaloo Boys, they say. Lemp's death and the political tension surrounding coronavirus-related lockdown orders have galvanized the Boogaloo movement. I didn't realize there was a movement. Whose adherents have used the two events to drum up anti-government sentiment. No, the two events drummed up anti-government sentiment. You've got it backwards. A report by the Tech Transparency Project last month identified 125 Facebook groups that were dedicated to Boogaloo, and more than 60% of those had been created between February and April. On those pages, posting racism and anti-government memes intermingle. That's typical for Boogaloo pages, according to a February report by the National Contagion Research Institute, which tracks how hate moves from the internet into the real world. Now, I'm sure they post spicy memes and very offensive ones, but that's not the point. The question is, or I should say the point is, that Vice is often just looking for shock content. Ooh, we're going to get you. Now, I think it's fair to point out this is a dramatic escalation and kind of worrisome. Dudes showing up with weapons in front of a building. I think we're getting dangerously close, and I would absolutely recommend against what these people are doing. But there's a big challenge. And I think right now the best thing we can do, and I'm saying right now, is these guys put up their hands and got arrested. Because I think they get it. Lawsuits will come after this. The Bill of Rights is being trampled all over. In New York, they're saying protesting is not allowed. Well, bring on the lawsuits. It's actually incredible that we have this system. I'm a huge fan of the American system. You know how it works? We have checks and balances. If Governor Whitmer in Michigan says, I'm extending the lockdown order in defiance of the state legislature, they file a lawsuit and it goes to the courts, putting a check on each different branch. I love it. I love it. I absolutely do. Now, it is problematic, I love that word, by the way, for someone to arrest you when you've done nothing wrong, but you sue after the fact, and these guys will probably win and then set precedent. So hopefully that deters things in the future. But I'll tell you what, it is also fair to say that the Bill of Rights is becoming Swiss cheese. Over the years, it's been eroded, and it will just keep being eroded. And I'm not for, look, I'll tell you what, man, the more that happens, you're going to see more and more of this, and it's going to get bad and it's going to get dangerous. And I don't know what the solutions to it are. I really, really don't. Quote, while many still use the Boogaloo meme jokingly, an increasing number of people employ the phrase to incite an apocalyptic confrontation with law enforcement and government officials or to provoke ethnic warfare. Oh, come on. It's a small fraction of people who are doing the worst. It's just so absurd. The incident in West Odessa, Texas, was just the latest example of extremists, including Boogaloo Boys, taking up arms in response to lockdown orders. On Thursday, Colorado police said they were investigating threats of civil war made against health centers. We the people are done with this effing BS, one person wrote in an email, according to local news outlets. And you're about to start a hot shooting, no BS civil war. That's not a threat, in my opinion. Like telling someone, hey, man, if you keep doing this, this might happen, isn't a threat. It depends on how you say it, though. If you said something like, you realize what's coming if you keep doing this. Yeah, you're going to get this. And it's like, it really, really depends. Crossing that territory is it's difficult. It's not so easy because it's true that some people are just warning. Like, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm telling you right now, man, it's going to get scary because these people are pissed. Last Friday, federal agents arrested Bradley Bunn, a 53-year-old man in Loveland, Colorado, for possessing pipe bombs, which he said he'd planned to use against law enforcement if they raided his property in the middle of the night. A possible reference to Lemp. Local news outlets identified him as a member of a militia and reported that he'd planned to attend an armed lockdown protest. Crazy people exist, man. Following Bunn's arrest, according to Site Intelligence Group, which tracks extremist activity, misinformation about an impending FBI raid on armed protesters began circulating on 4chan and far-right Telegram channels, with some users encouraging armed resistance. Bad, bad idea. I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't. Also, last week, heavily armed men with long guns stormed Michigan's Capitol. Stormed. Apparently, they were temperature checked on the way in, so please calm down. On May 1st, armed militiamen also showed up to protest lockdown orders in Richmond, Virginia. Isn't that May Day? The famous labor protest. Aren't these people protesting for the right to work? Wouldn't that just be an Antifa May Day protest? Oh, I love how this all comes full circle. Don't you get it? Yeah. Other stuff happened. They say the day after Lemp was killed, Swenson changed his Facebook page picture, Facebook profile picture, to a photo of himself in a Hawaiian shirt and an armored vest. And the hashtag his name was Duncan, according to a BuzzFeed report. And they say the cover was armed protester Wyatt Wynn waits for Ector County Sheriff officers and Texas State Trooper who were monitoring the protest. Wynn and others supporting the bar's owner, who decided to open despite the orders from the governor. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we get it. Okay. Well, I wonder what's going to happen because the governor is easing up on the restrictions. So, that salon owner got released. And I believe the governor said no one will be jailed over this. So I guess we'll see how things play out. But let me tell you about this. Two things. I do think it's fair to bring up the Boogaloo stuff. I brought it up too. I think it's absolutely fair. What I don't think is fair is to try and paint it as this far right, nightmarish situation when it's a lot of people are freaking out. It's an issue of a violation of our civil liberties and rights and how people respond to it. Not an issue of like the far right and ethnic conflict, like they try to say. But I'll tell you what, while they try to paint the picture of these guys as, far right, evil, whatever, I don't know what they're trying to say. I don't think it matters. I mean, the point is these people are getting angry. Something might happen, and I hope it doesn't. I hope everyone stays calm and just, we'll see how this thing plays out. You got to keep in mind that Bill Barr is threatening the states, so I don't think you're in a losing position right now. Bill Barr is going to, hopefully, we'll see what happens. But for the time being, this is not the way, man. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all next time.